How's it going, everybody? It's Afro DJ Mac, and I'm really excited to share with you the Afro DJ Mac Power Chords Ableton Live Pack. And what you're hearing right now are some drums with the power chords instruments on top. And a power chord is a special kind of chord that you play on an electric guitar that has the root note, the fifth note, and the root note an octave higher. And it's a classic sound in most rock music, you'll hear it. And that's what these particular instruments are designed to emulate. So let's take a look at what's going on inside our pack. Now to add the pack, we're going to go to Add Folder. And I'm going to locate this on my hard drive. I've got it under my Premium Racks folder. And I go to Power Chords. Wherever you save it, you just select the folder, click Open, and you'll add it to your places. And now inside, you'll see this live set, which is the one I have open now. And you'll see the different presets and sample folders. So I'm going to open the presets. And you'll see there's a folder for the StompBox effects that come with this. There's a bass instrument. And there's the distorted power chords and the clean power chords. And I'm going to start with the clean power chords. So I'm going to click on this track here and just let you hear what I've got. And right now, this is going through my guitar rig effect rack. So I'm going to turn that off so you can hear this in its clean form. So you'll notice when I press one pad on my push, I get a chord. So each one of these pads is playing back a power chord. So you really need to just think of the root note of the chord you want to play, and then you can perform just on one pad. The way this instrument works is I've multi-sampled each chord. I've got low velocity versions, so you can play it nice and soft. And there's 3 for the low velocity, 3 samples for each note. So that means that every time you play it, you're going to get a different note playing back. So this will keep things sounding kind of realistic. If I put my repeat on my push and just hold down this one chord, it sounds a bit like somebody strumming their guitar. And if I press harder, I get harder strums. And as I release the pressure a little bit, I get these nice soft, a little more dull, not quite as bright chords. So it's meant to sound kind of realistic. It's very hard to emulate that perfectly, but we get a pretty nice approximation. So as long as you're within the kind of normal range of an electric guitar, the low E would be the lowest note here. And you can make some nice guitar riffs that way. Now we've got controls for the dynamics. So the more you turn up the dynamics, the more volume difference you'll get between the different pressures and velocities. You turn it down to 0, things stay pretty close, so that kind of removes some of your dynamics, which sometimes is good when you have a rhythm guitar strumming. You might not want it being super dynamic. I'm gonna put this back up so we can hear it a little bit. I've got a release time on our chords, so we can make the release nice and long if we want some nice long sustained notes, or if we want things really tight. Put it a little bit shorter. I find for strumming purposes like this, somewhere around 2 seconds is kind of nice. Next, we've got a finger noise control. So you'll notice when I lift my finger off the pad, I'll often get these finger noises. This is to emulate a guitar player's hand moving across the strings, and that's exactly what it's a sample of. I've got the volume kind of high now at 6 dB, and the noise frequency is how often we're going to actually hear the finger noise. At 10, it's almost every time. Not quite, but almost. I find for this instrument, I like to keep it kind of low. 3 seems to be what I like, and then just dial it back a little bit in volume so it's not overpowering my sound. But this adds a little sense of realism like an actual player using the guitar. Next, we've got the tone A. And this is essentially an EQ control. We're adding high end to the right, and we're taking away the high end to the left. So if you want your guitar a little bit brighter, you just turn Tone A. If you want a little duller, turn it down a little bit. I'm gonna put that back to 0. And now tone B. This is a more extreme tone. What this is doing is changing the way the samples are being stretched out. So we get something a little more twangy. Or we get something a little more pitch shifted. So you can have some fun playing around with tone B for sort of special effects. And we've got a bass boost and cut. So if you want a little more low end in your electric guitar, turn this up. Or if you want to bring down the bass a little bit, bring it down here. And the last control I've got is the transient amount. So this is using a compressor to either take the attack, the initial attack. I'm gonna turn off repeat. So now the attack has been smoothed out a little bit. As I turn this up, you get a more abrasive attack. It's a subtle thing, but if you have it up a bit higher, the initial hit of your guitar sound will cut through the mix a little bit more. Now you might want that if you want your power chords to sound kind of big in the mix, but if you want them to sort of lay in the background, you may want to dial this down a little bit. Let me just show you quickly the distorted guitar, and I'm again gonna just turn off my guitar rig here. Notice I just pan this one to the right a little bit. The controls are the same, but the samples on this one are with my amplifier set to some distortion, some overdrive. So you get a little bit of distortion built in, which is kind of cool. You can hear those finger noises are a little more apparent on the distorted, as they're louder when you have a little bit of distortion on your amplifier. So in my example here, what you're actually hearing is this little drum beat, and this comes with the live set. You got our drum beat. We've got our first electric guitar. Notice they're just playing single notes. They're actually playing the same thing. So I've got a clean one and a distorted one. And I've also got my Univox bass in here. This is a free download that I have, but I figured I'd throw it in here so you can add some bass into your sounds. So it's a pretty cool instrument on its own. I'm not going to talk about that one too much, but it's there for you to enjoy. And when I play this clip, we're hearing two electric guitars, each panned a little bit to the left and right. I've turned off the guitar rigs. I'm going to turn them on now. And I think I'm going to demonstrate on my clean amp. I'm going to center this a little bit. Because right now, this is a clean guitar with our guitar rig on it. The guitar rig is part of the StompBox collection here. We've got a whole bunch of different StompBoxes here. The guitar rig is essentially all of these different StompBoxes inside one effect rack. And this effect rack has its own controls that allow you to add or take away the different parts of the guitar rig. So if I just stick on here for now, I can adjust the gain. Bring that down. I can change the amp type. This is using Live's amplifier device. We have two different distortions. And all of these knobs kind of interact, so as you change the different amp types, your distortions are going to sound different. And just keep in mind, this is the clean guitar, and we're getting a lot of different tones out of it using our guitar rig. And I'll pull down my different distortions a little bit. Keep something like this. I've got a double chorus. It's two different choruses. We can see that in this particular rack here. And we've also got the stereo wah, which is two different auto filters doing a sort of wah-wah effect, different on each side of the headphones. I've got a delay. And a reverb. And that's the guitar rig setup. It's got everything in it. Now, what you can also do, and I'll deactivate this, is we can go through these one by one. One of my effects is 2 cabinets. So this is essentially 2 cabinet effects, each panned a little bit, and you can adjust the sounds of these different, the mic positions. So just this alone can really change the quality of the instrument, the dry wet. I'll take that one out. I'll bring us to the stereo wah. Kind of a bizarre effect. This is 2 auto filters, and they're color coded. The left one is up here, and the right one is over here. And if you want them to work together, you can set them to have the same frequencies. Got about 819, and then you kind of take away the stereo-ness of this. Put the resonance at about the same too. And the amounts, they will put these both to about 15. And then of course the rate, put them both at 73. And now they're kind of moving a little more harmoniously, but I think a lot of the fun is mixing this up a little bit and changing the different parameters so that you're getting some nice alternating action in the headphones. I'm gonna take this out of our mix. Our reverb and delay, kind of modeled this after a Boss pedal that has both delay and reverb on it. It's one of my favorite Boss pedals, actually. And you can control the delay and the reverb together at the same time. Talked about the guitar rig. 8 cabinets is kind of cool. It's a collection of 8 chains, and each one has a cabinet. And you can add how many speaker cabinets you want from 1. And you'll notice the sound gets a little bit bigger as we go on. We can play with the dry wet too. And each one of these cabinets is set slightly differently, so you get a little bit of a different sound every time you add a new cabinet. And you can play around with the volumes of these if you want to adjust those, because it can get loud as you start adding speaker sets to it. Double chorus is a chorus 1 and chorus 2, and they're panned hard left and hard right, so you can have some like wild choruses on like one side of your headphones and something a little more subtle on the other side. And something to keep in mind is that all of these effects can be used on any sound you have. It doesn't just have to be my electric guitars here. And here we have the distortion. And this is a collection of different distortions inside a Live. A tube drive. Then we got distortion 1 and distortion 2. And these run together. So we go from the tube to the 2 distortions. And you can think of this as like having yourself 2 different stomp boxes lined up. And finally is the amp, which makes use of Live's amp device. And the controls are just conveniently laid out. And all of these are what you see inside our guitar rig here. It starts with amp, then goes to cabinets, then our different stomp boxes, and finally the 8 cabinets effect. And put them all together, and we got this sound right here. And I could add in, say, some distortion, a little bit of the chorus, a little reverb, and there you have it. Bring in my other guitar. This is the distorted guitar now running through the rig. And there you have it, folks. This is the Power Chords Ableton Live rack. Got the bass in now. And we'll bring the drums in. I hope you enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun, and it'll be a really nice way to add some electric guitar power chords into your music. Take care. Enjoy.